In this video, we're gonna look at a movie that attempts to rip off both Friday the 13th and Halloween. This movie has everything. A goofy Jason Voorhees ripoff. A Dr. Loomis stand-in who's quite the ladies' man.
I just got laid for the first time in 25 years.
Random wrestling.
Are you ready to rumble, bitch?
And so much more.
Oh my god, my wife!
The movie is Camp Murder, and it's ridiculous.
He ripped my friend's guts out!
So every good slasher movie needs a killer, and so do the terrible ones. The killer in this movie is a guy named Tommy Heller. As a kid, he was bullied at a summer camp, so he went on a rampage and killed everyone wearing this cheapo Jason mask. I actually covered this specific mask in one of my costume videos, so if you're familiar with that series, that should tell you a lot. After the murders, he's sent away to an institution where his doctor is a man named Dr. Loomis.
The name is Dr. Lewis.
My bad. So Tommy is locked up for 25 years under the care of Dr. Lewis. The whole time Dr. Lewis makes no progress with Tommy. He remains this silent, emotionless freak.
25 years of this shit. So glad it's over.
But pretty soon, none of that will matter, because Dr. Lewis is about to retire.
What are you gonna do now?
I thought maybe I'd go kick back some cold ones and hop in the caddy and drive around the country.
All right.
My retirement plan? A bunch of DUIs.
All right.
And since it's their last session, Dr. Lewis just starts screaming at Tommy to say something. He gives Tommy a notebook and a pen, which seems unsafe considering this is a homicidal maniac. Tommy just writes Camp Murder in this notebook, and the doctor just loses his shit. He starts screaming at Tommy and cussing him out.
Camp Murder?
Dr. Lewis storms off, and the orderly takes over, and he starts insulting Tommy.
You smell like shit.
But since Tommy's not restrained in any way, Tommy just snaps and kills Felix the orderly with the ink pen that Dr. Lewis gave him, and then Tommy just runs away and escapes. It looks more like somebody who is trying to get to the bathroom without pooping their pants. So we cut to the next day, and Dr. Lewis is just getting drunk in his office while this blonde woman sneaks into the facility somehow, but more on her in a moment. Dr. Lewis gets a phone call letting him know that Felix was murdered.
Really? I'm sorry to hear about Felix. He was a good kid.
Good kid. The man with the gray hair. But what Dr. Lewis says next really sets the bar for what kind of logic you should expect in this movie.
Whatever you do, make it look like an accident. We can't let this get out.
Make it look like an accident? Why? What is he afraid of? Getting fired? He's retiring in 2 days. Also, who is this person calling him? The one that found the body? I mean, I assume it's one of the hospital staff, but why would they go along with this clearly illegal plan? To protect some boss that's not even going to be around on Monday? Does this person even know how to make a homicide look like an accident? Is that in their resume for some reason? And this dude was stabbed repeatedly with an ink pen. How do you make that look like an accident? Oh, the pen sticking out of his neck? Yeah, he was trying to give himself a tattoo. Dr. Lewis just whips this handgun out of his desk because apparently he's planning on taking the law into his own hands. But that blonde woman shows up at his office, and Dr. Lewis just sort of puts the gun on the other side of the desk, as if the woman isn't going to notice a gun sitting out on this desk.
Wait a minute. Are you another one of those damn reporters snooping around? I advise you to leave, or I will have security remove you.
Oh, you mean the security that allowed a mental patient to escape, and a strange woman to sneak in?
See, I was hoping that I could tell your story. I think you're a hero.
Hero, huh?
Yeah, real hero.
Meanwhile, Tommy is on the loose, and he stumbles upon this couple in the woods. The boyfriend plays this prank on his girlfriend where he pretends to go pee, but he really gets dressed up in this terrible Halloween costume to scare her, and then she gets pissed and storms off. But then Tommy just happens to be nearby, and he kills the guy, and he takes his entire costume. And then he finds the girl, and for a second she thinks it's her boyfriend, and then she realizes it's not, and then he kills her too. So I gotta talk about Tommy's look for a second. Like, what the hell is any of this? Okay, so the mask is alright, but everything else? He's wearing this long blonde wig that looks like he's cosplaying as one of the elves from Lord of the Rings. They also gave Tommy those black Velcro shoes that you usually only see 80-year-old grandpas wear. I mean, seriously, they made this guy look like a total dork. Like, is somebody actually supposed to be scared of this? I don't get it. So back to Dr. Lewis, who's still in his office. We learn that he's brought in this bounty hunter named Wyatt.
The crazy kid escaped and you want me to bring him back, right?
I want you to make him disappear for good.
You want me to kill a mental patient.
So in a few hours, Dr. Lewis has gone from covering up murders to facilitating them.
This will cost you $10K in cash.
The money's yours.
So this man is retiring in 2 days, and he's going to pay 10 grand out of his own pocket and essentially commit a felony to clean up a mess that technically wasn't even his fault, and in a few days won't be his responsibility. I wish I could tell you that this was the dumbest thing that's going to happen in this movie, but it's not even in the top 10. This scene is also kind of weird because the characters talk as if there's this huge age discrepancy between the two of them.
I didn't think I'd ever get a call from you, to be honest, old man. Save it, old man. You mean old bastard.
You got a deal, young man?
These dudes look the absolute same age. If anything, the bald guy looks like the older one. So back in the woods, we're introduced to our primary group of would-be victims, who happen to be camping near the site of Tommy's old murders. We have Jay, who's a stoner. We have Cody, who's a stoner. We have Fred, who, let me check my notes, is a stoner. We have Angela, who is a girl. Honestly, that's pretty much all we learn about Angela. And then there's Tina, who's playing the stereotypical hot blonde chick that all the guys are trying to get with, except she's old enough to be most of the campers' moms. The movie tries to act like these campers are all a bunch of college-age kids or something, except there's like a 34-year age gap between them. Like, I'm not even joking. The actress who plays Tina was 58 when this was filmed, and the guy who plays Fred is 24. They all happen to be fans of an independent pro wrestler named Roxy Rumble, and apparently their idol is coming out to go camping with them. That's right, the setup for this movie is that a female pro wrestler is driving out to the middle of nowhere to sleep in a tent with a few of her weirdo fans. And the movie treats this idea as if it was the most normal thing in the whole world. To try to sell the idea that these people are diehard wrestling fans, we see Andrea reading what is supposed to be a wrestling magazine featuring Roxy, except instead of taking 15 minutes to mock up a passable magazine cover in Photoshop, they just printed some random photos of Roxy on a sheet of computer paper and scribbled, "Simulate the Tate wrestling" on it with a pen. Simulate the Tate? What the hell does that even mean? So the guys are struggling to get this tent set up, while the girls are just watching, and at one point, to try to encourage the guys to be better at tent erecting, Tina offers a bit of an incentive.
We set up this tent. Maybe I'll flash in my boobs later.
And just look at their reactions. Like, they are so thirsty to see these boomer boobies. Hey, to each their own. So as for Roxy, she's heading out to the camp. And thankfully, she brought along her husband, Chuck. Chuck is a retired pro wrestler that used to be called the Pain Train, but these days he serves as Roxy's manager. Like her actual manager in charge of getting her bookings, and not a manager like Bobby the Brain Heenan. Apparently Chuck sucks at his job, and all of Roxy's stans hate him for it. They will not stop talking shit about him throughout the movie.
Roxy will lose her husband almost here.
That guy's such a dweeb.
Turd is perfect, because she canned her career.
Roxy is pretty excited for this weekend, but her husband is less enthused.
I'm excited to hang out with your pothead fan club.
They're cool, and they're my friends.
That's a sentence that shouldn't be said by anyone over the age of puberty. So Roxy and her husband finally arrive at the campsite, and you gotta watch this scene where Roxy greets her fans, and they respond back to her.
Who's ready to rumble?
Yeah! There's this awkward 3-second pause before they respond, which is weirder because this is supposed to be Roxy's catchphrase. I know this because a few seconds later, Roxy tries her line again.
Who's ready to rumble?
And this time, they respond too quickly. Who's ready to— Hell yeah! You didn't let me finish. Oh, sorry. Rumble! Nah, I'm good. Tina and Andrea decide to go wander off to explore what is supposed to be the remnants of Camp Murder, which has apparently been closed and abandoned for 25 years.
This place is really, really spooky.
This place, it's in ruins.
I love how this is supposed to be some decrepit, rundown campsite, but they just shot it at their buddy's normal-looking backyard with this nice hut and well-maintained fences and perfectly cut lawn. Hey Steve, can we film part of our movie at your house? A movie? I mean, yeah, that sounds kind of fun. Oh, thank you so much. You are really helping me out. The script calls for a disgusting dumpster fire of a property, like just an absolutely uninhabitable shithole of a place. And like, this is perfect. What the hell, man? My kids play out here. So now it's time to catch back up with Dr. Lewis, who's with that reporter lady whose name is Katie. So they're in a cheap hotel room where she's trying to seduce the good doctor for a big scoop, which leads to a horrible, awkward sex scene that I can't really show for boobs reasons. But in the middle of it, this happens.
I need to know everything you know about Tommy. No more until you tell me everything.
I really have to question her negotiating strategy. I'm no expert, but I think usually you don't start the sex stuff until after you get the thing you want. But apparently her gambit works, and Dr. Lewis just instantly blurts out that Tommy has escaped.
He escaped!
And Katie the reporter is shocked.
Got out?
Which begs the question, what did she think the actual story was? Does she travel from institution to institution, banging doctors in hopes that one of them actually has a worthwhile story?
I'm going to be rich. Me.
So after she leaves, Dr. Lewis goes to the bar to celebrate, and that's where he meets Joe the park ranger.
I am the park ranger around here.
So within 20 seconds of meeting Joe, Dr. Lewis feels comfortable enough to reveal this.
I just got laid for the first time in 25 years.
Jealous much? Okay, could you imagine Dr. Loomis from Halloween acting this way?
I shot him 6 times. Also, I had sex today with a woman.
So anyway, Joe asks Dr. Lewis why he's in town.
I'm writing a memoir on Camp Murder.
So then Joe reveals he was actually a survivor at Camp Murder. Joe goes on to describe the hellish events of that night.
We just went from cabin to cabin and cabin to cabin. Going from cabin to cabin and
cabin to cabin?
Cabin to cabin to cabin to cabin to cabin.
So that same night, the campers make plans for the evening.
We should definitely check out the bar in town later tonight, guys. The Rambler is a cool scene.
And a cool scene it is. If you're into empty hotel bars that have no bartenders, but do have a deputy with a pool stick as the doorman. So they're walking into this bar, and Roxy and Cody just start, wrestling. So this pisses off Roxy's husband, who starts yelling at Cody, and then the deputy at the door instantly goes for his gun. Okay, dude, seriously, chill. So Roxy tries to calm down Chuck by explaining that there's a totally innocent explanation for what was happening.
He was teaching me a wrestling move.
Okay.
He asked me to show him a move. I was just showing him a wrestling move.
Wait, but I thought... So like 10 feet away from them at this empty bar, creepy Cody is simping out hard over Roxy.
Everyone knows that she loves me and we should be together. I'm gonna finally take it to the next level tonight.
And the rest of them are just totally encouraging him.
Do it, Cody. Then she come hang out with us, like she really wanted to.
So they go back to the campsite and they have this scene that's like a ripoff of Friday the 13th Part 2.
Have you guys ever heard about Camp Murder?
The scene ends with Cody jumping out in a mask to scare Chuck, just like Friday the 13th Part 2. Honestly though, I don't know why Chuck doesn't just beat the crap out of this guy already. So Chuck and Roxy go into the tent to fool around.
Let's play a game. It's called How Long Can I Sit on Your Face?
Nope! So it's the next day and we catch back up with Dr. Lewis, who's with Joe the Ranger again. It seems that Joe knows where Tommy's mother lives and takes him to her house so he can get more information for his memoir. So I guess the whole idea is he's recruiting Tommy's mother to help him find Tommy.
Some lazy idiot orderly let him escape.
Hey, I thought Felix was a good kid.
Some lazy idiot orderly.
So they're in the car and this happens.
It's been a long time since I've been this close to a man before. I have needs.
Say what?
Just the other day, I met the woman of my dreams, and I'm madly in love with her.
Come on.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to pass.
This lady's timing sucks. 2 days ago, he would have been all over that shit. So next, we get one of the dumbest plot twists in a movie filled with dumb plot twists. Roxy and Cody sneak away to the woods, and we learn that they've been secretly having an affair this whole time.
I want you right now, in these woods.
I want it too.
And for whatever reason, the writers of the movie decided this was a good idea.
We can make him disappear forever.
Kill my husband?
Yes, you distract him. I push him in the lake, take him to the dock, and when no one's around...
Wait, what?
You distract him. I push him in the lake, take him to the dock, and when no one's around...
I mean, I feel like you put that in the wrong order. I think it should probably be...
Take him to the dock, and when no one's around, you distract him. I push him in the lake.
So the movie would like us to believe that these people are supposedly so hot for each other that they're willing to murder a guy.
Oh, Cody, my love. Yes, let's do it.
But then they kiss like this?
Come here, baby.
Oh.
Now, I may not be a professional kisser, but to me, this looks like two people superglued their lips together and they're trying to pull apart. Thankfully, we finally get some more Tommy murder scenes. First up are these birdwatchers. Tommy kills the man, then chases the woman. I love how you can clearly tell that this actress is holding the camera Blair Witch style, but then in the next shot her arms are just flailing all over. But she tries to hide and Tommy gets her too. Then it's our old buddy Joe the park ranger. Joe is driving around in this big open field on a four-wheeler when Tommy passes right in front of him, but somehow Joe loses sight of him. Then Joe gets back on his four-wheeler, which is still in the middle of this big open field. Come on, movie. There's no way a killer who runs like this is capable of ninja moves like this. And you remember that bounty hunter Wyatt from earlier in the movie? Well, he's finally on the trail of Tommy, which means he just parks at a random spot by the trees, pulls out his gun, and starts crouch walking through the woods like he's trying to unlock a stealth achievement. Dude just randomly squats every once in a while for no apparent reason. Somehow he comes out of the woods and just happens to find Tommy standing there. So his strat worked, I guess?
You brought a knife to a gunfight.
So the bounty hunter has Tommy at gunpoint. All he has to do is shoot him, and he'll collect that sweet $10,000 bounty. What the hell are you doing?
I like a knife fight.
Dude, it's 10 grand.
Come on, you big bitch in a Jason wannabe mask.
Yeah, well. So back at the campsite, the gang decides to go skinny dipping. Roxy and Chuck pass because Chuck can't swim, so they decide to go on a hike instead. Cody also decides to stay back at the camp, because it's time for Roxy and Cody to enact their stupid-ass murder scheme. So if you remember, the idea here was that Roxy was going to distract Chuck out by the water.
This dock is really so sexy.
Say what?
It's starting to make me horny.
Do not sexualize me, you understand?
And then Cody was going to sneak up and push Chuck in the water, and he was going to drown, and he'd be dead, and they'd live happily ever after. So Roxy goes to distract Chuck. Alright, okay, enough of that. So for whatever reason, Cody shows up after Roxy is already done distracting Chuck, and Chuck recognizes Cody right away because he's wearing the exact same costume he wore when he was pranking Chuck the night before. So Cody just unmasks, and then pretty much just admits he's going to kill Chuck.
Time to go for a swim!
But then out of nowhere, Tommy shows up.
Who the hell are you? I'm gonna kick your ass and tell you to like right now!
And then Tommy kills Cody, which, thank God. So Roxy and Chuck, they just get the hell out of there. They go to hide in this picnic structure, which I don't know if that's the best hiding place. But then Dr. Lewis and Tommy's mom show up, and our two plot lines are finally converging. Yay!
There's a derelict cabin not far from here, where we can hide until help arrives.
Oh yeah, this derelict cabin with freshly stocked firewood that's in perfect condition. Dr. Lewis and Chuck decide to go look for Tommy, but instead they run into Katie, who pulls a gun on them?
I love you.
Aw, dude, no.
You love me?
Take me to Tommy. Now.
He's here right about now, guys.
Katie's plan in this movie just gets dumber and dumber as the movie goes along.
I get to watch him kill his own doctor. I'm gonna sell 1 million copies of my book.
She keeps saying she's going to become a millionaire by writing some book about Tommy, yet she's excited that Tommy is going to kill Dr. Lewis, the guy who actually let Tommy escape and has been Tommy's doctor for 25 years. Instead, she plans on getting all the details for her book from Tommy himself, who hasn't said a word in 25 years. Anyway, she talks Tommy into taking off his mask.
Katie, please!
But then she screams at his hideous face, so he kills her.
I'm sorry it had to be this way.
Back at the campsite, Tommy shows up and finally starts killing people. He kills Jay at the tent, then he heads over to the lake spot, and Fred gets killed, and for some reason during this scene, they decide to use these, like, green screen blood effects, except they look like they're from, like, 2003. This scene cracks me up because they went for the old someone stuffs their arm in a t-shirt trick, but clearly they didn't think this out ahead of time because Fred was wearing this sleeveless shirt the whole movie, so they're forced to make it look like decapitated Fred suddenly had stubby T-Rex arms. Tina then tries to kick Tommy in the balls, and then she gets killed too. Meanwhile, Roxy and Tommy's mom are back at that rundown cabin when Roxy just has this moment where she strips down to her wrestling gear, which she's apparently been wearing this whole time underneath her clothes like she's Superman or something. During this scene, all I could think about is how absurd this must look to Tommy's mom, who's just chilling there worrying about her son, and all of a sudden this lady's like taking off her clothes for some reason. But okay, I see what they're doing here, what this whole wrestler subplot has been all about. Obviously, Roxy is going to use her wrestling skills to be the hero and take down Tommy.
The man I love is dead.
You're trying to kill me!
We tried to kill you. I'm gonna finish what Cody started!
Or she's going to confess her murder scheme to her husband and try to wrestle him to death in front of a witness. Yeah, that makes more sense. Tommy shows up at the cabin during this nonsense. He doesn't even try to kill Roxy or Chuck. He just grabs his mom and leaves. He takes her to this barn, and we get this kind of sweet scene where Tommy unmasks and is reunited with his mom for the first time in 25 years, until Dr. Lewis shows up and shoots his mom in the face. Tommy is understandably heartbroken, and he finally talks for the first time in 25 years.
Take me back!
And Dr. Lewis gives zero shits.
I'm taking you straight to hell!
So the movie should be over, right? Nope, because Roxy and Chuck are still wrestling and somehow end up at that same barn, where Dr. Lewis comes out with a machete, acting like an absolute lunatic for some reason.
Break it up, lovebirds! Tommy's dead! Thank God you killed him!
I love how Roxy no longer wants to murder her husband, as if these two events are somehow related.
And sadly, I'm gonna have to kill you too, Chuck!
Hold on, what?
I can't have any witnesses, so you and your wife are finished!
Oh, you mean the witnesses who weren't around when you killed those people? Who didn't even notice you were there until you got their attention?
Break it up, lovebirds!
And didn't know you killed Tommy until you told them?
I killed him. You're a doctor! Was a doctor! But now I'm retired.
Are you shitting me? So of course, being the badass wrestler she is,
I'm the doctor of pain!
Roxy decides to take down Dr. Lewis and gets herself decapitated. Her head conveniently lands on some bloody chicken breasts.
Oh my God, my wife!
He sounds like somebody who was supposed to pick up their wife at the airport but forgot, then suddenly remembers 2 hours later.
My wife!
But yeah, Dr. Lewis is just randomly murdering people now for no good reason. So I guess Dr. Lewis is going to be the villain for the rest of the movie. Or not. So now it's time for the movie's big, exciting climax, where shirtless Chuck wrestles Tommy in waist-high lake water. That's right, the makers of Camp Murder decided their final girl should be this guy.
Choo-choo, mother...
Somehow, Chuck successfully water wrestles Tommy, and Tommy is momentarily down. So Andrea shows up with the deputy from the bar, and they cut to this shot where Chuck is supposed to be struggling to swim to shore. It looks hilarious because there's no way the water would be that deep there. It's like 6 feet from the shore. Of course, Tommy pops up again, and he tries to kill Chuck, but the deputy fires his shotgun and somehow perfectly hits Tommy without hitting Chuck, and Tommy dies again. And everyone leaves, and oh wait, Tommy's still alive, and he decides to unmask. So what I don't understand about this, when they showed the flashback scenes, even though Tommy was wearing a mask, you could tell he seemed to have normal eyes and a normal face. So did this happen at the institution? Was that the big secret Dr. Lewis was trying to hide? That he routinely throws acid in his patients' faces? And for whatever reason, Tommy just goes back underwater. I guess he's gonna live underwater now? Is he a merman? I don't know. So that's Camp Murder. If you want to watch Camp Murder, it's available for free on Tubi and some YouTube sites right now, so go check it out. I mean, it's not a good movie, but it's also not a boring movie. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, check out this other stuff and consider subscribing to my channel if you're not already subscribed. And until next time, later, Danger Seekers.